Hey there, it's your old pal Keith from wavetables.lol. That's wavetables.lol, home of KRC Mathwaves, the world's largest collection of wavetables, single-cycle waveforms, and even some samples for all sorts of modern synthesizers, including my new friend, the 1010Music nanobox Fireball. Am I a blessed person in a lot of ways. My lovely wife gave me a 1010 Fireball for Christmas. And the irony here is that I've had a little co-promotional thing with 1010Music for a while, because I know their marketing person. It's a lovely sounding little thing. And 1010, because they have the Fireball Wavetable synthesizer and they're adding the Fireball software to their Bento portable box. What is that? It's called a Sampling Production Lab. They had reached out to me and said, hey, you want to do a little co-promotion? And so I have had a discount code going. It's still going, by the way. Related to 1010Music, that you can use code 1010Music at checkout at wavetables.lol, and you can get KRC Mathwaves, the entire collection, for just $19. It's usually $29. Goodness gracious, Keith. Quit being so excited. And so it was kind of funny that my wife gave me this gift, and she's like, and she was so concerned. She was like, I don't know if this is any good, but you know, I know you're like the wavetable guy, and I thought this might be a good thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great thing, but those guys never send me any hardware. So now I have the hardware, and you know, maybe now that I'm doing a video about the Fireball, at least part of the video is about the Fireball. You know, maybe they'll be inclined to send me a Bento. I don't know. So the nanobox Fireball is a very interesting little synth. It's actually kind of, its architecture is kind of like a mini Moog, really. So it's let's pull it up on their product page. I want the desktop products. Okay. It was the first one that they introduced. It's not exactly new. It's a couple years old now. There it is, playing some custom wavetables of mine. What was I saying about this? Oh, so it's not exactly a new synthesizer, but it's new to me, and I had never played around with it. It's very cool. Oh yeah, I was saying it kind of has a mini Moog type architecture. It has 3 oscillators, 2 of which are wavetable oscillators, and it can load custom wavetables, which is why I have a little promotion with 1010Music. You'll apologize me for I will apologize. You'll forgive me. You'll forgive me if I'm like looking down a lot, because it's this little tiny device, which is very small. Here's the Lego minifigure. It's that's a mind flayer for scale. It's very, very tiny. It's even tinier than I thought it was going to be. It's kind of got a mini Moog style architecture, 2 wavetable oscillators, and then a third, what might nominally be considered a sub oscillator that does the basic synthesizer waveforms. So we've got sawtooth, we've got square or triangle, and there's square with pulse width modulation, by the way. It goes very narrow. Right, square, and then what? Is there sine, and then sine, and then noise. Well, that makes that patch a little bit new agey, doesn't it? I apologize if you're hearing a little bit of noise. I'm not set up very well to demonstrate hardware synthesizers, and I decided to take the output of Nanobox and run it directly into my mixer that handles my lav mic. And so some of the ambient noise from my room is surely going to leak through into this recording. But this is a really cool synthesizer, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. Of course, you can use code 1010Music to get $10 off. Don't hit the camera, Keith. To get $10 off of KRC Mathwaves. But also, inspired by this little guy. Where is it? Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Oh, I just released a new Wavetable collection, which is called KRC Fireball. And this is a collection of 2,000 wavetables from KRC Mathwaves, and some wavetables that haven't actually appeared before. So there are a few unique ones, but it's a little cheap and cheerful product. It's actually just $10. Right now you get 2,000 wavetables in wave format. The wavetable format that Nanobox supports is the same one that Serum does. So there are 2048 sample per frame, 2048 sample per frame 32-bit .wav files, and so you could use this collection. Oh boy, and I moved the Nanobox because it's so tiny. They are compatible with other synthesizers too. So you could use this collection with Serum, Vital Pigments, Dawson Contrast. Oh, a new synth we're going to look at later in this video called Ultra. This is the most common wavetable format. And so this product only comes in that Serum-style wave format, but if you want everything, which is like these 2,000 wavetables plus more than 100,000 more, you could get the full KRC Mathwaves collection. Also, don't forget that there's a free sampler. If we just navigate it over to wavetables.lol, there is a free version of Mathwaves that is 1,600 wavetables. Not picked out in any particular way. The wavetables here in the KRC Fireball Collection are a little more curated. There's you can read the product page. There'll be links in the description. There's always links in the description. You can read about the different categories that are included. But since the Fireball itself only comes with about 100 wavetables, KRC Mathwaves or KRC Fireball is a great addition. And I really like this synthesizer. It, as befits its tiny size, it's relatively simple. It's got 2 filters, and you can, here, let me try to get my other hand in here. You can drag on the touch screen and adjust resonance and cutoff in the filter. There's 2 filters, and they have all sorts of different types, right? So you've got your, oops, wrong one. There we go. You've got low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch variations on these. They're fairly clean, and sort of digital style filters. However, I do find they have a little bit of drive to them, and they're very pretty. So they're not just utilitarian. I think they sound really good. The oscillators sound great. There's no noticeable aliasing unless you load a wavetable that like intentionally is kind of grungy. And so one thing I included in KRC Fireball, it's really easy to install, by the way. You just download a zip file, you unzip it, and then you drag the folders that appear there onto this little tiny SD card that comes with the Nanobox. And so you do need, you can't access the file system on Nanobox. Where is my adapter? Hold on. You do need a machine with a, oh boy. This is the funny part of the video where Keith like loses something. I gotta make sure my camera is still like fixed on me. Oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. Okay. You might need one of these kind of adapters, and if you're a camera person like I am, you probably have lots of micro SD adapters. Anyway, you can just put that into your machine. Oh, let's do it. Why not? Let's do it. You can just put the SD card into your SD card slot. Stick it in the slot, Keith. That's what they said. And let's see. Let's just like load this up. Whoop! Hey! What's going on? There it is. let's see here. Let's go over to our SD card. See? And so you'll see that we've got a factory folder that's full of wavetables, but then we've got all these KRC ones. And so these could be the folders from KRC Mathwaves or folders from KRC Fireball. And so I put a whole bunch of different categories in here. You can go read about them on wavetables.lol. Anyway, you just like copy that stuff over, and then you put it in your nanobox, and the next time that you boot it, you'll have access to those wavetables. And so you can see when I click on, let's go out of here. If I click on one of the waveforms, I can then navigate right over to the wavetable, click the little right button here, and now I can navigate this folder hierarchy. So we could go get a completely different wavetable, like one of my microwaved wavetables. These wavetables are radically bit decimated to emulate the sound of the, and you see they load pretty quickly, to emulate the sound of the Waldorf microwave. So these are pretty crazy looking in places, and so they're greatly bit reduced, but then they're also mirrored in this funny way. Like the first part of the waveform is the second part of the waveform that's just inverted, and they have a pretty aggressive sound. Pretty cool, and that's like a sound I don't hear very much in the factory set in nanobox Fireball. I've been doing a little bit of programming for it with all these different waveforms, mostly with my custom wavetables. Let's see. This is kind of a keyboard type patch. It sounds really good. It has some kind of basic effects. So you've got effects 1, which can be a flanger and distortion. Let's see, can we make it? Can we hear that? Do I have to just click it? Okay. Don't have any depth on the flanger. There we go. And you can add distortion to it. Right? Or let's see, let's turn it back to the chorus. The chorus is kind of pretty. And then in effects 2, you've got delay or reverb. The delay does do stereo stuff. You can have it ping pong if you want to. Interestingly, the Fireball itself actually isn't really stereo. So there's no pan settings in the voices. So they're always apparently at the same place in the stereo field. I do wonder if that might be something that will come in a future firmware. So that's another thing that kind of makes it mini-Moog-like. It's like, all the oscillators are kind of at the same pan position. However, we do hear stereo effects coming from the delay if we have it in ping pong mode. The reverb is stereoized. It's a serviceable reverb. It's not like the most incredible sounding reverb you've ever heard, but it's nice, it's smooth. It has a few parameters you can adjust, and they're also modulatable. So anywhere you see like these 3 dots, you can go to the right, and there'll be some modulation routings that you can set up if you want to. Again, we talked about the 2 filters. They can be serial or parallel. They can be on or off, each one individually. You've got 2 envelopes then. So one that acts as the main like amp ADSR, and then another one that's kind of for modulation. And then there's 2 LFOs and a sequencer. And the LFOs are kind of cool because they can like modulate each other, and they can even modulate themselves. So I'm not sure what I've got sign 1 going to. Let's see. Should we do that to pitch or something maybe? Let's see here. Let's take the pitch of one of these oscillators. We'll go over here, and let's put LFO1 as a modulation source. You can see this is really easy. It's like really easy to get to grips with. Okay, so now we've got some pitch modulation on wavetable 1. I know it's just grody, but but now you can hear it doing its thing. And we could even go over here and modulate LFO1. Let's like modulate LFO1's rate with itself, right? So you can get very weird effects there. And that's, kind of one of the fun things about synthesizers with simple architectures, right? You're encouraged to kind of explore, like, well, what can I do with two LFOs? And, like, what kind of weird modulation routings can I come up with? But another thing that's kind of different about the Fireball versus, say, like a flagship hardware or flagship VST wavetable synthesizer is that it doesn't have... Listen to another pad here. Play something, Keith. These are some of the KRC Fireball wavetables, by the way. I'm into those glassy bell-like things. So there's plenty of that in here. I kind of lost my place. What was I saying? It doesn't have like the crazy modifiers like you see, like in Modwave, when you load a wavetable, you can change its harmonic content. Then you've got like various time domain things like bend and, shifting of the waveform. And of course in things like Serum-2, you've got all sorts of phase distortion and FM kind of effects. You don't have those in nanobox. It's kind of a really straightforward wavetable player, but you can get some really sophisticated sounds going. And so one of the things that I did include with the KRC Fireball Collection is some of these things that do things like sync. Like, it doesn't have oscillator sync, but these split wavetables kind of have a sync-like character to them. And so you can get all sorts of different effects just by changing the wavetables. So I was really happy with this gift. Again, Nanobox Fireball is like $3.99. I guess it's a little on the pricey side. I mean, it's not like a ultra budget synthesizer, but it sounds really great. It has like 8 voices. I could see it working really well in, like a Dallas Jam kind of context. Actually, if you want to see something like that, the Bad Gear did an episode on the Nanobox. As you know, Florian's shtick isn't really that the gear is bad. It's just that, people complain about all sorts of things. And of course, he takes almost every piece of gear, even the dumbest pieces of gear, and makes them sound awesome in jamming contexts. So this is an awesome little synth. I do like it. I would say if you're in the market for like a small hardware wavetable synth, this is a much better option than like that new Waldorf thing. Because that new Waldorf thing, what is it called? The Pro, what is it? I can't even remember. And I don't really want to pay any lip service because even though it uses wavetables, I don't consider it a modern wavetable synthesizer because it doesn't load external wavetables. So like, it's like you're stuck with whatever's in there, and look, in KRC Fireball and KRC Mathwaves, you've got all these like microwaved wavetables that basically give you the same sound that like a Waldorf would give you. Now, Waldorf has beautiful sounding filters, etc., etc. But that synthesizer is, I think it's another $100 over Nanobox, and I would probably rather have Nanobox, to be honest. Very interesting little synthesizer. It does have an XY pad that you can manipulate in real time, which is pretty cool. And you can, it's just a modulation source. You can assign it to anything. It responds to velocity, it responds to pressure. It also has a built-in keyboard. So I can imagine, I haven't done this yet because I've just been programming it here at my desktop. But I can imagine loading up like new wavetable ideas into here, and then I could just like take this thing and a little power supply, right? I could take this to my local, I could take this to the bar, and I could like explore new wavetable concepts and things. So it's a very interesting little piece of gear. One thing that you might not be able to see that I don't remember anybody else who's done a video about this pointing out, but you can change the screen brightness, but also the little buttons here. So home button, like select D button, and the left and right navigation arrows, they're all backlit, which is really cool actually, because my environment is fairly dim, but it makes it like totally possible to navigate the interface. So very interesting product. Okay, so that's my kind of micro review of nanobox Fireball. Hey, go to wavetables.lol and get KRC Fireball Collection. So it's like Mathwaves Lite. So you know Mathwaves is more than 160,000 wavetables across all sorts of categories, including these like crazy wavetables that I made by building variational autoencoders and like having AI generate wavetables and interpolate wavetables. If you've been watching my channel for a while, that you've seen all of the different kinds of concepts that I've explored. This is like a subset of KRC Mathwaves. That's kind of some of my later things. There are some things that don't appear anywhere else, like these choir wavetables. You've heard them before. There's one or two of them in my multi-poly patch collection, but they don't appear in Mathwaves. So there's these choir wavetables, and then what else is new here? Oh, there's some phase distortion wavetables. How many of them are there? 47 phase distortion wavetables that do some really crazy, make some really crazy waveforms. This was kind of inspired by Casio synthesizers. But what I've done is I basically did like a phase distortion algorithm where the index like increases very strongly. And so like these, you can see this wavetable goes crazy. It goes from a sine wave to like this really wild, I don't know what you'd call it, really wild, sort of sawtoothy waveform, but it's got lots of wibbles in it. So there's lots of different, it's hard to talk and use this at the same time. There's all these kind of different wibbles in it. I want to turn this one down. Let's turn the level of that sawtooth guy down. And then let's go over here and just turn the level up. Very interesting wavetables, and those haven't appeared in any of my other collections. So there's some new stuff here. You know, and it's sort of a mini best of Mathwaves in some ways, but these were things that I thought really accented the nanobox Fireball. Okay, we've got other stuff to look at today. I've not yet talked about Pigment 7, which came out last month, so that would be in December of 2025. That's a free update to Arturia Pigments. It's not a huge update, but it's very nice, and Pigments is still on sale for $99. So in our next segment, we'll talk about that. And then in our final segment, we will talk about a new VST called Ultra. That's a wavetable synth that does some really weird, new, and different stuff. So I'm going to take a short break, and we will be back talking about Pigment 7. Well, hey there, it's your old pal Rob Zombie. No, it's your old pal Keith. And a synthesizer that I didn't get to look at in December was Pigments 7. So, you know, I haven't really covered Pigments very much on this channel because while I think Pigments is a great synth, and let's see, where's Arturia? And while it is still on sale for $99, maybe just through the first week of July, yeah, through, July, January. Welcome to 2026. Oh, Happy New Year, by the way. Anyway, it's on sale until January 6th. It's $99. It's a free upgrade if you already own Pigments. This is a little confusing, actually, because if you log in to the Pigment site, Arturia will still try to sell you Pigment 7, even though you already own an earlier version. All you have to do is run the Arturia Sound Center, or whatever the hell it's called. What is it? Arturia Arturia Software Center. Just run Arturia Software Center, and you will see the free update if you own Pigments already. Anyway, I haven't really talked about Pigments a whole lot on the channel. You know, I didn't get into Pigments, I think, until version 6, so this is the first free update. The first free update that I've seen since owning Pigments. And I mostly bought Pigments just to ensure compatibility between KRC Mathwaves and other things that I do with Pigments, because it is one of the main, flagship wavetable synthesizers. But it's a very capable synthesizer. It's just that I prefer, say, Korg Modwave and Korg Multipoly as kind of my default wavetable synthesizers. But Pigments is no slouch, and it's grown some very interesting features. Maybe we should pull up Modwave, because I did want to point out one thing. So in Pigments 7, let's add Modwave here. In Pigment 7, they've enhanced the play mode that's been there for a minute. I think it debuted in 5 or 6. But I feel like Korg and oh, there's an update for Modwave. I feel like Korg. Let's see. Here's Modwave. Turn this volume up a little bit. Korg and Arturia have sort of been inspired by each other, I think, over the last several years. And so play mode appeared in Modwave some time ago, I guess when it debuted, and it's a nice, kind of overview of a preset where you can, make kind of basic changes to it. We saw that get incorporated into Omnisphere 3 in 2025. This is an idea that I think is a good one, because not everybody is like a really deep synthesizer programmer like myself. So you've got kind of a synth edit mode, and you've got a play mode. And so Arturia has kind of borrowed that idea. Select something else. Has kind of borrowed that idea. Okay, so there's Modwave. And then let's see, here's Pigments. So now Pigments has this kind of fancier play mode. You can make basic changes to a patch. Even things like turning on a filter. Adjusting your amplifier envelope. And basic effects parameters. I think that's pretty cool and useful. Most of the time you would probably be in synth mode. And with version 6 of Pigments, they got this new modal engine. Oh, this one doesn't have modal. This is actually using a sample and a wavetable. I don't do a whole lot of programming in Pigments. But I set up a couple of patches here just to kind of check out some of the new types of things. So in addition to the play mode in Pigment 7, there are a couple new filter types. Again, this isn't like a radical update, but I think it's a nice one. I mean, and since it's free, well, why not go grab it? Or if you're not into Pigments yet, it's a good time to pick it up because it's still 99 bucks. So there's a couple new filter types. There's this thing called a ripple filter. I'm going to turn off. Did I accidentally turn on filter 2? No, I didn't. Very interesting new filter color. Three flavors on the ripple. There's a reverb filter. This would be easier to hear in a different patch. Let's try that out. It kind of throws off sort of like static room reflections, static reverby things. It's a very interesting sound design color. And then I think the highlight of the new filters is this one called Rage, which is very dirty. And in certain configurations, sounds a lot like a 303 or like a modded kind of 303 sound. That's what I was playing in the intro to this part. So this has a little sequence on it. Now, the sequencer in Pigments is substantially different from, say, the modulation sequencer that you see in Korg Modwave and Korg Multipoly. The sequencer in Pigments is a much more straightforward, like, kind of MIDI sequencer. It actually triggers notes, which is not what Modwave and Multipoly do. But a very similar idea. And if you listen to this sound, right, it's very much kind of 303 inspired, and that's very easy to get to with the Rage filter. I'm using the soft clip here. And then there's a new effect, and there might be more than one, but the one I'm thinking of right now is this thing called corroder. So you can see that Rage works really well with the corroder effect. Okay, so that's with the corroder off, and then with the corroder on. Yeah. Nasty. That shit's nasty. Anyway, pretty cool stuff. There's a lot to explore here. And so these are sounds that, they remind me a little bit of some of the stuff that you can do in Arturia Pure Lo-Fi, which in some ways I actually kind of prefer to Pigment 7. But Arturia Pure Lo-Fi isn't really a substitute for a flagship wavetable synthesizer. So I just wanted to point out that, like, this is available. You probably already knew that. There's other people that have demoed Pigment 7 in much more detail than I'm going to today. I think the other major change is the envelopes are a little snappier. I think they have faster release times. They've changed some things with, I think, how the slopes can work. Those are all very welcome. And it's just, it does all the wavetable things, right? So, we can go from these kind of bell-like things, which again are using some of the KRC mathematical series wavetables that you'll find in KRC Fireball or in KRC Mathwaves. This is one of my favorite styles of wavetables, and there's no effects on this, I don't think. One thing I think that's maybe a weakness with the Arturia synths is I don't find their built-in reverb that great. It's totally serviceable, but I don't know. I don't find it incredibly inspiring, so I would probably use Pigments with maybe something that I like the sound of a little better, like maybe my own reverb, Liminal Space, or something like the reverbs from Omnisphere 3 effects, right? But there's a lot that this synthesizer can do. It's got a cool modulation system. I like it. It is recommended, and of course it works with all of my wavetables. Again, using the Serum-style wavetables, which I've also now labeled as being compatible with Pigments. But in case you didn't know, the Pigments wavetables are the same as the Serum wavetables. Okay, so that's Pigments 7. Nice little update there. Again, free to existing users. And then just yesterday, a brand new wavetable synthesizer appeared to me that's called Ultra, and it does some really new and novel things. I don't know that it is yet a replacement for, say, a Pigments or a Modwave or a Multipoly or Serum 2. God, how many wavetable synths do you need, Keith? It's not a replacement for any of those, but I think at some point it might be, and it does some really interesting wavetable interpolation things that you haven't seen anywhere else except in Korg Modwave. And then it's also really good for sample fukkery. So I'm going to take a short break, and in my next segment, we are going to look at Ultra from Ultrasound. Is that, what are they calling themselves? Anyway, it's very interesting. Ultra.audio. So Ultra from ultra.audio. We'll get into that. Okay, I'm taking a break. So, I guess right around Christmas, 2025. We're in 2026 now. Happy New Year. A new super synth dropped. And boy, we've had no shortage of kind of super synthesizers in the past year, right? So off the top of my head, with Serum 2, we had Omnisphere 3, we've got Unify 2. I'm actually running this new thing instead of Unify 2. Pigment 7, which we just talked about. And this new thing like dropped out of the blue that's called Ultra from ultra.audio. And Ultra is billed as a next generation synthesizer. It is a wavetable synth. This is one of my little patches, and I've only been working with this for 24 hours, so I don't have much experience with it yet. But it sounds beautiful. Comes with a bunch of great presets, and it has like really weird features, like you can make stereo wavetables. And it has like wavetable multi-sampling. So they bill it here on the site as multi-sampling, but basically what you can do is you can have different wavetables for different pitches and then different velocities. So in much the same way as say like Contact or SoundPaint, could make complex multi-sample maps from samples, Ultra can do that with wavetables, and mostly wavetables that it imports. Although I'm going to talk to the developer about that, because I think there's a lot of possibilities to make this more powerful with existing wavetables. And it does this really crazy stuff with like pitch and amp curves. And then you can convert samples to wavetables in a very interesting way. And it sounds very good. And as you know, I have tried to tackle that problem. Let's see, let's go to wavetables.lol, shall we? I've kind of tackled that before in my orchestral impressions wavetable library, where I took a bunch of open source orchestral samples and then developed some scripting techniques to turn those into more or less successful wavetable versions, which of course sound very different from the sampled versions. But this is quite a challenge, and I've showed in previous videos how Serum 2 does a pretty good job of sample to wavetable conversion. Faceplant does on occasion, but then if you want to do it in bulk, you kind of need to script it and use a whole lot of math to make things work properly. Bloody blah, talky, like and subscribe for more talky synthesizer content. Anyway, I became aware of this synthesizer, which seems to have dropped without much fanfare. Turn the volume on this one up. Seems to have dropped without much fanfare. I found out about it on Ben Jordan's live stream yesterday. If you're not following Ben, follow Ben Jordan. He's really cool. And he was demonstrating the synthesizer, basically saying that he bought it like kind of instantly because of the sort of sample fuckery that you can do with it. Now, we were just talking about converting samples to wavetables. My point of view on that sort of thing is like, look, if you want to use a sample, use a sample. A wavetable is a different thing, right? And so orchestral impressions is like, well, how can we kind of extract the heart of a sample so that we could use it in more synthetic ways? Ultra takes kind of a different approach to this. Let's get the init patch up. And there's a couple things I find are really remarkable about it. Now, it is pretty heavy on CPU. So here's the init patch. There's is just a sawtooth wave in the wavetable oscillator, which is called an ultra wave. It has a bunch of other types of oscillators as well, and they are selectable. One thing that's a little bit strange, and I think this might be a CPU limitation, is that there's only one ultra wave oscillator available in a patch. So we can't do the kinds of tricks that I would commonly do in a wavetable synthesizer, like in Korg multi-poly. That's a 4 oscillator, 4 layer per oscillator synthesizer, right? And I might load that thing up with 16 different wavetables and they'll all play back. This one is limited to one wavetable oscillator, but the visualization is great. Like, look at the cool ass visualization you get on this. It's 3D and it's very smooth. Or you can do a 2D view. That's very helpful. Let's load up a different wavetable. I haven't explored wavetable import too much. Let's go get one of like our microwaved wavetables. We'll just pick one at random. 76. You can import audio just by dragging it, and then you'll get this dialog. You can create a new patch out of your imported audio. You can replace the ultra wave in the current patch, or you can add sounds to an ultra wave. Let's replace the ultra wave. We'll click automatic, and then we'll click import wavetable data because we know this is a wavetable. Like, we don't have to convert this. We want to just interpret this the right way. And then you will get a dialog that lets you select the frame size. Of course, all of the KRC Mathwaves and other wavetable products of mine are 2048 samples per frame. So that's the default. We just select that and say import. And now, here's the wavetable I just imported. And you can see in the 2D view, right? This is one of the microwaved wavetables. And you can see that they're very jiggity jaggedy, right? So these are wavetables that were converted into this very bit crushed kind of format by bit downsampling from 32-bit audio to like 8-bit audio, and then upsampling in a very primitive way so that we get these little lands all over. You can see these little square wave structures. And this throws off that cool kind of aliasing, right? But it's nice in this visualization that you can see it. It has some really nice sounding filters. There's like a ladder one, there's an MS200. Not sure what that means. I guess that's an MS20 emulation, maybe. Let's put some envelope on that. It has this kind of drag and drop mod routing system. And then you can change the amount, right? By grabbing this little doohickey right here. Let's give it more release. And then, of course, we can change our wavetable position, and we can modulate it, right? So let's maybe modulate it with the same envelope, backward. You can hear that nice kind of pseudo-aliasing sound that happens with these kind of wavetables. Now, the other thing that's like super cool about this, I think you can hear how like nice and clear the sound is. There's some nice effects. There's a nice chorus. That really brings this sound to life. And then you've got, warp modes, as you would have in all sorts of other wavetable synthesizers. And that's, of course, modulatable. We could throw an LFO on that if we wanted to. Maybe not so extreme. And then let's load the 3D view. This is very cool. And then you can also see like there's really nice little animations. I'm not much of one you know, for like the GUI being really important in a synthesizer, but boy, does this thing look cool. And it has really nice little kind of micro interfaces for the various effects. The reverbs are okay. Let's throw a little delay on there too, shall we? And these can be, let's see, this can be ping pong. Pretty cool sounding thing. Now, the other thing that's very interesting here is this like wavetable multi-sampling. So we've got this random explorer bit crushed wavetable in here already, but let's add another wavetable to this map. I don't know how this is going to sound, but let's go get like one of our polygonal waveforms, right? Like let's go get like the 7-sided polygon with fall off, sure. And so now I can add sounds to the current ultra wave. And again, we'll do this import wavetable data, 2048 frames. And now this is our polygonal waveform. And we can actually change it to have its root like up here at like C7 or C6. And as we play up and down the keyboard, we've got that very bit crushy sound down here, but if we go up a couple octaves, we're up in that polygonal waveform territory. This is a type of thing that other wavetable synths generally can't do. Korg Modwave can do this with its A-B blend mode, where it can have two wavetables that transition from one to the other based on different modulators, which could be velocity, could be note number, could even be an LFO. I'm not sure yet if there's a way to modulate this kind of interpolation by anything except for velocity and key position from this map. But this is a very interesting capability. And so this opens a lot of like new possibilities if you have a giant collection of wavetables like KRC Mathwaves or the free version of KRC Mathwaves or KRC Fireball Collection, which we talked about earlier. It's very neat. I do wish it had a second ultra wave. Now, in addition to the ultra wave, there's an analog type of oscillator. Which could be like a sub oscillator. It can be a mix of up to 3 oscillators. That's pretty cool. There's also a super wave. So the super wave is obviously modeled after the Roland like super saw. I mean, and it's really good. I want to bring the volume of this one down. There's a little mixer over here. I don't know how thrilled I am about the semi-skeuomorphic, excuse me, the semi-skeuomorphic interface here. But it's easy to get to grips with. You can wildly detune these guys. You can bring up the number of voices to extreme levels. Should be at like 9, I think. And then it's got like a modern mode, like a 2026 mode, and then a 1996 mode. Very cool, right? You can also have like sampled oscillators, and this gets into whoops, clear the filters there. This gets into the sample fukkery I was talking about. Let's see, we'll discard those changes we just made. Let's take a patch here that's inspired by those Maurice White samples that I'm always showing off on this channel. And so, oops, let's turn the volume up a little bit. I need to change that init patch so that it's hotter. So this is playing both a sampled version. It's playing the sample of Maurice 4 here, but then it's also playing a sample that's been turned into a wavetable. So let's turn off the sampler, and here's the wavetable version of another Maurice White sample that's like from the same multi-sample set. And if you listen carefully, I think you can hear that there's an attack. On the wavetable. So there's a portion when you import a sample into Ultra, it identifies the attack characteristics versus the body. And so you can change the relative level and the pitch processing of the attack versus the body. So here's just the attack. And then here's just the body. And then together. Very interesting effect. The other thing that you can do with this is you can get really crazy. Let's get out of my sounds. Where is this one? To me. So you can fly like vocal phrases and stuff into this. And, you know, do kind of Vocaloid kind of things. Or harmonizer kind of things. And you don't have to use the pitch map that it detects. You could turn this all the way down. Very interesting, right? Let's take our own sample and throw it in there. Oops, I don't have a sample bin up here. Let's go. What are we going to grab? Let's grab something else. What about? So here's a little vocal sample from an old U.S. Air Force record. Add sounds to current. Now we're going to replace Ultra Wave in the current patch, automatic. And now we have this different like sample import kind of thing. We can trim the range here, but this is already a pre-trimmed sample. So I'm just going to say that we're done adjusting it. And it does all of this pitch detection and amplitude detection on it.
You're living in the aerospace age. You're living in the aerospace age.
It's not up quite high enough. But you hear that? You're living in the aerospace age. Okay. We could do things at this point like smooth the pitch curve, smooth the amplitude curve.
You're living in the aerospace age.
And it's going to sound a little bit different. Let's reset those.
You're living in the aerospace age.
And you can select like which wavetable cycles actually are used in the wavetable. So you can say adaptive, which seems to be like the best mode to me. The loudest cycles or evenly spaced cycles.
You're living in the aerospace age. You're living in the aerospace age. You're living in the aerospace age.
That seems like the best one to me. And then let's see. So you can do other things here. You could make loop playback or whatever. Anyway, I'll leave it to you to look at those. There is a demo version of this that like runs for 20 minutes at a time. Now I'm turning up the pitch modulation.
You are living in the aerospace age. You are living in the aerospace age. You are living in the aerospace age.
Very interesting.
You are living
effect.
in the aerospace age. You are living in the aerospace age.
It's crazy.
You're living in the aerospace age. You're living in the aerospace age.
Other things that this seems to work pretty well for are like, you know, loops, like drum loops and stuff. And you can get very strange effects from that. Let's see, do we have other loops in here? Let's see. Well, we just try a riff, right? Let's try a tenor sax riff. What's this one? Go here. And let's do replace. Discard the changes. Yeah, import this. Adaptive. pretty interesting stuff. And we could change the speed. Make it robotized. It's just very interesting. It's a kind of a different type of sample fuckery than I've seen before. And they put this kind of stuff to really good use in some of the factory patches. So here's a clarinet that's based on the Visco clarinet, which would also be one of the samples that I turned into the clarinet samples in KRC Orchestral Impressions, right? This is a very realistic instrument. And if we look at the mapping, the multi-sample mapping, you can see they took all of the multi-samples and turned them into wavetables and then assigned them to the appropriate velocity ranges. So they've got like a very, very dynamic instrument. Now this would take a long time to set up, but it's a really, really interesting approach. And you don't have to get all like that fancy with it. Like you could just, make weird vocal kinds of stuff. Here's a much simpler map that's actually using 3 different samples to create wavetables from the Skinny Puppy Skinned sampling CD, which I don't think is the thing you can get anymore, but let's turn this up. So this is like 3 different vocal phrases that are attempting to morph into each other, and then we've got modulation on the warp mode here, and so you can hear you get some very strange effects. It's just really wild. Very, very weird. Now, is it musically useful? Well, we've seen that it can be. I think this is just a really interesting sound design playground. And apparently the developer behind this, who has done other things before, is this fellow, Nigel John Stanford. And so in Ben Jordan's live stream yesterday, Nigel John Stanford showed up in the chat. And so I had some little side chats with him asking various questions about what was going on in this instrument. And we're going to have him on the channel sometime soon. So anyway, I bought this thing just after playing with it while Ben was playing with it on his live stream because it's very innovative. It's got an intro price right now of $149. Again, it's at ultra.audio. Go check it out. Go play with it. You might get excited about it too. It's very interesting and it looks and sounds great. Even though it's a bit of a CPU hog. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here that we haven't even gotten to, like routing on the filters is quite interesting. You can route any oscillator to any combination of the filters just by dragging and dropping, which is kind of cool. It's 3 effects buses, so there's a main effects bus and then an A and a B bus. It's got a bunch of nice sounding filters. An easy modulation system. It's just a very interesting instrument. Now, like I say, this won't replace, some of the other flagship wavetable synthesizers because of some of the limitations of the Ultrawave, but it's certainly a very interesting alternative. And as you know, I'm always excited by new things that can use custom wavetables. And so as I play around with this will probably inspire new wavetable ideas from me. So there you go. There's our look at like 3 different wavetable synthesizers for our first video of 2026. How long have I been going? Hey, like and subscribe for more talky synthesizer content if you haven't before, 24 minutes. Well, this is going to be a pretty long video, all told. I want to leave you with one other thing. So a little end of the year discovery for me was this band that the YouTube algorithm kindly put in front of me. They're called the Dream Eaters. They are kind of like, they're sort of synth pop, but also goth. They describe themselves as the Carpenters meets Slayer, and they have an absolute banger of a track out called I Am the Antichrist. I'm not going to play it so that they don't accidentally, copyright strike me. But there'll be a link in the description. Go listen and watch to I Am the Antichrist by the Dream Eaters. This is another set of interesting audio people that I'm going to attempt to get on the channel. So stay tuned for more of that. Anyway, like and subscribe for more talky synthesizer content. Go to wavetables.lol and get yourself KRC Mathwaves. Remember, you can use discount code 1010Music to get the full collection of KRC Mathwaves for just $19, or you can buy my new mini collection. It's like Mathwaves Lite that I designed for Nanobox. You can get that, but it works with other synthesizers, right? Including Ultra, which we just looked at. You can get this for just $10. So with that, I'm going to say, hey, be good to each other. I hope that your 2026 is awesome. I hope that the holiday season was not too trying for you. And with that, I will talk to you later.